But I think with that, this goes back to some of the challenges and I think the conversation, just so you know, anybody who's watching or listening to this problem we're talking about, I actually see infects a lot of different things. And what we're getting at here is we often sometimes manage to the exception, like you just described with the tea. Well, how many people actually are going to be pissed off at the fact they have to get a spoon out to take the tea bag out? And you're like, well, there might be someone. There will probably be one person. And you're like, so the 2 people in the world who are losing their cool over something this ridiculous, we're going to change our whole strategy as a business that's good for people, good for the earth, good for our product. We're going to build our strategy around those few exceptions. And I think that's a real risk for a lot of things where people eliminate opportunities simply because someone, and half the time it's a hypothetical. There's not even data behind, like, do we have data that a large percentage of our customers are going to get really mad about this?
Yeah, and I mean, sustainability aside, even some of my past work has been as like a innovation consultant and strategist, and to that extent, and it's literally looking at things that a company or business organization does and how you can do it differently. And you get the people that, the response that we always, perk up about is like, this is how we've always done things, and that to us is like free candy, because we're like, okay, that means it's old, it's antiquated, probably inefficient, and the process can be updated in some way. And you're going to get some that pushes back because, change is difficult. Look at change management techniques and whatnot, but it's also going to be better for you, the business, the personnel involved, once you actually get it up and rolling. And sometimes you just need to, go against the grain a little bit to get to that point. But it happens day in, day out with organizations of all sizes and even individuals on that level too. It's like, I need to separate my recycling. Like, that's an easy example, but more so it's like, turn the lights off or switch your light bulbs out. Like, these new eco-friendly light bulbs, I want to change them for the next 30 years of my life, sort of thing. It's going to be more eco-friendly too. And so it's like, but I've used these ones, and these ones are a little whiter versus yellower. And so it's those little things, I think, that are just, we're so like inherently triggered by, changes and like getting out of a routine. We are creatures of habit. But once you are able to kind of take one step out of the normal fast lane there, you can kind of realize like, okay, it's not that bad. And it's actually has those benefits for all those different stakeholders involved.
Well, and I was chuckling to myself thinking of your light bulb example, because I just think of human behavior. And as somebody who just observes and studies human behavior of this, it is interesting how we almost do have an allergic reaction to change. And then we start to come up with all the reasons why our allergic reaction is justified. And I just even think of the light bulb example where I mean, again, I can see this, and it brings back a family memory where I had suggested this, like with my and it was this allergic reaction, because it was this, well, if we do that, we're going to have to change every light bulb. And do you know how much it's going to cost? And I'm like, I'm not saying we change every light bulb in the world today. I'm just saying, when your light bulb burns out, replace it with one of these bulbs instead, type of a thing, like fitting that in. And there is that tendency to just react. But if anything, I think when we have those reactions, that's the perfect time, to your point, to lean into it and go, hang on a second. Is this really validated? And I don't know about you, but I found seeking for data to support it, like actual data, not just, well, I think people won't want to take a tea bag out with a spoon. Okay, well, your thinking is not interesting to me. I'm curious, do we have any research or data to support this as a legitimate thing that we're going to have to work around? And also being open to the idea that even if you have challenges, everything has challenges. You don't throw in the towel every time you come against a barrier.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one thing too, we see that all the time with businesses, where it's like they are so hesitant to adopt these new changes, and they're like, well, we have this customer base, or we have this market share, we have this or that. But then you have this kind of superfluous rationale of why you don't want to do these different things. And a lot of it's like difficulty, time, bandwidth, resources. But then you look at the other side of things, and this, especially with sustainability, the shift that we're in, that all these different stakeholders, investors, employees, consumers, in extremely high percentages of each of them are really pushing this pressure, putting this pressure on companies to like start being more transparent and honest and do things differently. And so like the numbers, the data is there. And sometimes it's just, put in front of the right people to have them see that. And I hate to say it, but bring the money signs back to it. Like, you can save more money and make more money if you make these changes. And by the way, it also is green. It's better for the planet or the people and all those different things. But sometimes you just have to, have to appeal to the right stakeholder that you're talking to and get them to see it in the right way. But like the light bulb with your family. It's like, we just changed one. This is going to be okay. Let's see how it reacts. And then maybe we should change 3. And then, we go like that, like one step at a time, folks. Like that's the
Right.
lesson at the end of the day.
Well, and I think you hit on another point there, is that I can't think of the number of times in my career where some of those reactions to change are based on assumptions, and getting around that is sometimes even just going, have we asked? Like, I think of an example where there was this perceived massive change in the organization that I was proposing that was like, we are not going to be able to do it because there is a regulatory agency. They require us to do this, all this stuff. And I said, have we ever asked them? And it was just one of these like, well, no, but we just know. And I remember going, well, how about give me a phone number and I will call and I'll have a discussion with them and let's see if we can get there. And having that discussion, turns out the assumption we had about this regulatory agency was completely wrong. And whatever information had informed the decision before, maybe it was true at some point, but it's not true anymore.